Health insurance, you guys are doing great here. You've got good coverage. Now, you do, of course, though, have a pretty high a stop loss limit of $3,000. You've got a you've got deductibles of $450. Um, if anything happens, it'd be nice to know that you had these deductible and stop loss amounts at your disposal. So we're asking then, of course, that you what amounts to self-insure for these stop loss amounts. The total for this, we're asking an annual savings of 2,140 over 2 years to come to $4,350 savings for these amounts based upon health insurance coverage to help you through that deductible and stop loss limit. Homeowners insurance, that starts on page 20. Page 20. Okay. You have homeowners insurance, great. It's generally good. We'd recommend that you increased the liability portion from 100,000 to 300,000. It's very easy to get pretty high in the liability issues when those issues come up. So we're suggesting that it adds approximately $250 to the cost, but again, it's worth getting that extra amount. We'd also like to see endorsements on other things that are not covered under your homeowner's policy as it currently exists. The jewelry, collectibles, golf equipment, of which you have a lot of it, Tyler. Artwork, the home furnishings. We need a separate endorsement on those to cover those in the event of an issue with your home. The auto insurance that you have, it starts on page 21 here. Generally pretty good. Now, you have pretty low deductibles. We think that if you raise the deductibles, that you would there'd be some savings that could occur with the auto loans. So we'd like to see the auto loans go up. The deductible go up to $1,000 every year, or $1,000. And with these two cars, we'd like to see a savings of the deductible amount. So we're proposing that you save $1,000 over 2 years. $1,000 every year for 2 years. Then you have the deductible amount for any kind of loss that can occur with the autos. Umbrella policy. You do have an umbrella policy. It's $500,000. I don't know where you got that because it's really odd. I haven't seen a $500,000 policy. Usually they begin at $1 million, and it just so happens that that's the amount we're suggesting you get, $1 million umbrella policy. It's going to cost about $300 a year. It's well worth it. Because what an umbrella policy does is cover you for things that your current policies don't cover you on. It gets a little technical, but it's generally a good deal. It's relatively cheap, and it provides that extra peace of mind. Boat insurance, you are not currently covered under for your boat. You'd think maybe you would under your homeowner's policy or possibly your auto policy, but that's just not the case. So we're recommending that you get, of course, boat insurance. That looks like it's going to cost about $200 a year. Of course, if you're going to operate your boat, something you should get. Long-term care insurance. Now, this is insurance that covers if you become if you have issues with activities of daily living, like if you have issues with dressing, eating, or bathing as a result of a debilitating condition. Generally, these things can get very expensive. Some places, your health insurance will not cover this. We're suggesting that you get long-term care insurance. we have various stats on long-term care insurance that you see on page 23 here. It can get very expensive, and it can wipe out all of your hard-earned savings if you're not insured. So something you should look into, and once you've looked into, to buy, as we've recommended. It looks it's going to be approximately $120 a month for this, but again, the cost definitely covers what you get in the end, potentially. So that's, again, something we're recommending. Now, investment planning starts on page 24. Now, this is something that we've definitely looked at very closely for you. Let's just start at the top, the cash and cash equivalents there. The best deal that you've got on offer currently is the Missouri Municipal Money Market. Now, the reason that that's such a good deal is that while it looks like it's a low percentage return, what actually we're looking at the after-tax amount, or it's called the taxable equivalent yield. We're calculating 3.286%, which is better than all the other rates except the CDs. And the CDs, I mean, for an emergency type fund, we don't want to lock anything up that way in a CD. So we'd prefer to get into a non-CD product. And this Missouri money market account is the best one once tax is considered. So that's what we're suggesting, where you put your cash. The non-retirement funds, the Haley Growth and Income, good. It's good. It's got a good yield and risk-adjusted return. So we're suggesting you keep that. The Sagebrush, Cons, and Ruth funds are not doing well, and so when we can, we're going to suggest you sell them. Now, there's an issue about long-term versus short-term. How you're holding this currently. It seems that you're suggesting that it's short-term because you're saying that we should assume ordinary rates when if we're suggesting that they're sold. So therefore, we're suggesting that you hold them until they become a long-term hold position, and then at that time get out of them. Because there are capital gains that will be incurred. We don't want you to pay the higher rate of tax, so let's hold them. We're saying until 2015 just to ensure that long-term capital gain treatment. The EE savings bonds, we're suggesting that you keep these and use them for Becky's education, because once that can happen, the accrued interest is tax-free. Now, it takes very specific things in order to make this happen. We're going to use it in conjunction with the Section 529 plan that we're suggesting down in the education, and we'll talk about that. Anyway, for investment purposes, we're going to be keeping this, but for only a few more years. The Potsdam annuity. It's not very flexible. It's offering 5% currently. The surrender charge ends in 2 years. We're suggesting that once that occurs, that we change over to the Bostonian option that we have. There's more investment choices in it, and we can do things that we want to do with it that we'll discuss. Okay, now the retirement funds. This is locked away in a retirement, in retirement accounts. And as a result, when you sell these things, it's not going to incur income tax on the sale. So we're suggesting you sell these things immediately and go into a certain mix of investments that we've looked at. We've looked at your options, and we've applied what's called modern portfolio theory to maximize the risk versus the rate of return. And so we've got a mix of assets that we're suggesting you put any available retirement assets into.